how can I say this? Dark times equal good riffs.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in our old buddy Sammy from Goatwhore. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah,
Can
man,
I
I'm
can I complain a little bit?
awesome. I like it. I'm always Mr. Complaints. I try not to be, but sometimes you gotta be. So I like to hear people who are in good spirits, man. And you should be in good spirits. You have this killer new album on the horizon coming out next month on Metal Blade. Angels Hung from the Arches of Heaven. I had to peek at it to make sure I didn't mess it up, but I got it. And it is a crusher as expected. But Goatwhore never lets us down. I really appreciate the consistency of the band over the history. I've told this probably in the past to Ben also, man. Like you guys are so just is never a doubt. It's like Goatwhore's got a new album out, it's gonna rule. It's never soft, man.
Hell yeah. Never soft.
Never soft. Always hard. We like
Oh
it.
yeah.
This is not going as I planned so far. But anyway, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And sober. I'm last time I saw you, we were not sober, but
And
all
that
good.
happens.
That
That
does
happens
happen.
every once in a while.
Yeah, that does happen. Killer show. I saw you guys here in San Francisco at the DNA Lounge with Brewery. Amazing night of metal. Right around the corner from my house. So I love stumbling back and forth to the venue as my favorite way to go do a show and not have to go too far and drink as much as I want or can handle. And it was a killer. It was such a fun show that night, man.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it was. I remember that one very clearly. That was definitely I don't usually like the DNA Lounge, but that night, for some reason, I guess the stars were aligned and we had a great night.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. I'll say that. And San Fran's an interesting town. Since I moved here, there's a lot of good metalheads and a lot of good metal shows, especially the East Bay. But there are an abundance of shows lately here also in town. I know we had the plague in the world and everything where everybody took a pause and there wasn't as much touring, which probably for you guys was like the first time in forever that you were not on the road a whole year.
Yeah. That was well, I mean, it had its ups and downs, I guess you can say, because I mean, we had a lot of time to think about this record, which, normally it's hurry up, put out the record and get back on tour, and this time it was like, you're not going on tour and we don't know when you're going to go on tour ever again, if ever. So like, well, we might as well write a record and actually fucking take our time and have fun with it.
Right on. Oh, it definitely. I mean, this is such a complex and interesting record. And I would say like the last few records, you guys were doing this really cool, sort of this blackened thrash metal. And now I think this record is a step back toward the old school blackened death metal that I think a lot of people jumped on with you guys. I think it sounds like it's like very straightforward all the way through blackened death metal.
Yeah, it's a very angry, dismal. It's not a happy record. Now, all I could say about this record, I know what you're saying about the past ones. And this one, I'll say that the party is fucking over. You know what I mean?
The party is over for all of us, bro. It's the whole earth. And Ben cuts no corners and takes no quarter for anybody, gives none, and there's no shelter for anybody on this record. This is an assault to the ears in a good way,
That was the plan.
Yeah.
I wanted this record to be, how can I say it, the heaviest fucking thing we've ever done.
It's gonna be up there, man. It's like I said, I love these complex chromatic old school riffs that you guys, like I said, you kind of made your bones on. And don't get me wrong, I love the last few records a lot, and they're fun and they're like very punk and straightforward and straight ahead and fast and a lot of circle pit music. But this is a very complex record, and they're all bangers, but there's room for some interesting dynamics. I love the opening track is like something you guys I don't think have really tried before, which is this like incantation, this like very satanic incantation feeling thing. And there's some other things too. The last track, there's some moody shit on here too that also helps build the heaviness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. There's some how can I say this? Dark times equal good riffs.
We should get that on a shirt, man. Move over, fucked by Satan. Dark times give us heavy riffs, man. It is so true. It is so true. It's been a rough time, but hopefully, personally, you guys are all good and in one piece following the making of this record. You
Oh yeah,
got it all
yeah.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, things are slowly coming back to normal. So
Right.
our sanity is kind of coming back to us,
Nice. I mean, except on stage, I never see you without a smile. I mean, like the scowling and riffing is a given, right? Or Ben is a given, right? Is a given when he's doing his thing. But like, I think you guys are generally really, Zach is a joy. I think you guys are very upbeat, cool, fun people.
Yeah, I mean, when we're on stage, I mean, that's what we live for. It's the happiest I am ever, is when I'm playing my guitar extremely loud in front of a bunch of people that are digging it. That's why that's why I feel I was put on this planet.
I love it, man. I love it. I agree. I agree. It's killer. Yeah, I mean, it's such a good record from the artwork down to every track. I think people are going to be really thrilled with this one. It's a very strong year for metal, all kinds of metal, a lot of good releases, a lot of underground stuff. That's great. A lot of death metal. I'm really glad to see a lot of young bands sort of picking up the mantle of black metal and death metal, maybe in a way that I hadn't seen in the last few years. So very encouraging times for our community.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you guys have been jamming in the van or the bus, or you've been listening to personally that's sort of more new than old?
Not really. I just been listening to our old shit. I mean, there's a couple of new bands that pop up, which probably aren't new bands, but there's a band called Cults des Ghouls that I've been listening to a lot of, that I've been freaking out on. That's great stuff. There's another band, believe they're from Spain, called Noctum. I think they have a new record coming out, but the last record they put out, called The Black Consecration, that record freaked me out. That is a great black metal record. Like, that's what it's supposed to be about, basically. I mean, they have a different approach to it a little bit, but it's something about that record is just vicious. And there's another band, I believe they're from Ohio somewhere, called Involtation. They're more of an underground thing, but I've been listening to that a lot. And other than that, like, as far as new stuff, that's as far as I go with new stuff. I just stick with what I know, the old standbys that never fail you.
The classics. There's always room for the classics. I know the band Noctum. They are fantastic. That is a great call right there. And we'll look up the other ones and give them some love. Maybe we'll tag them in the description of this interview and help them out. That's what we do. We try to help out everybody.
Hell yeah.
As I always say, when it kind of reminds me of when we were at Maryland Death Fest together a few years ago, and you guys played the little room upstairs from the stage, which was like hilarious to see you guys in a tiny place and just take it over. It was amazing. And I'm gonna miss MDF next year. I'm glad they're coming back the year after. Hopefully we'll get another Goatwhore run on Maryland Death Fest in the future. I wish those guys the best on their respite year coming up, but it reminded me of, like, I bumped into a peer of mine in music journalism, and he's like Goatwhore. He was like, Ghost Cult. It's like, you cover Goatwhore and all these underground bands, and then you cover like the butt rock. And I was like, sometimes we have to, man. It's just to get the click so I can help out Goatwhore and a bunch of bands even more obscure than Goatwhore. I want to help everybody, but unfortunately that means I gotta like promote some butt rock, some Red State Rock Festival stuff,
Music's music, man.
Yeah. No doubt. So I thought it would be fun for us to do a little track by track rundown of the whole album. I know you said already offline that you're still working on the working titles. That is not an uncommon thing. I have heard that before, but we'll do a little trial and error and see how it goes with the track by track. And anything you want to share, I know our viewers would be delighted to hear from you and get your feelings on this album that's not quite out yet. This is going to run probably right before it drops. So I think it'll be fun for everybody. Hopefully fun for us. The first track is Invocation, which again is this very chanty satanic thing.
It's Invocation 3.
Invocation 3, excuse me.
Yes. How can I say it? It's kind of leading up to what's about to happen. Kind of a suspense builder, I guess you can say. you know, and it was it's number 3 in a series of invocations, which I won't elaborate on. I'll let you guys figure that one out.
Duly noted. Duly noted. We get my satanic textbooks out of storage. The next track, which is the first proper song, is Born of Satan's Flesh.
All right, so Born of Satan's Flesh, it's the first video and the first track that they dropped off of the album. What is there to say about this one? It is based upon, the lyrics were based upon an old horror movie called Blood on Satan's Claw, which actually was the working title of the song before we had the lyrics. So I'll just watch horror movies and I'll have a song written and I'm like, we need a, instead of having them 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, version 4, version 8, blah, blah, blah. When I feel a song is finished, after I do the 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, version 18 million, I'll give it a working title of whatever comes to my mind at the time. And I was watching Blood on Satan's Claw, and I was like, well, let's just call this one Blood on Satan's Claw as a working title before we had the lyrics written. And Ben just kind of ran with that. It was like, I'm just actually going to kind of base the lyrics around the movie. I'm like, all right, fair enough, go for it. And here we have Born of Satan's Flesh.
Killer. I like it. The next track is The Bestowal of Abomination. These titles are unbelievable, by the way. They're awesome.
I don't know really what to say about this one. It's just, it was more, I was kind of experimenting with a lot of guitar overdubs when I was doing the demo. So it kind of gave it this real creepy vibe in some spots. And it's just, it's just a face ripper, it's just a very evil, dark, heavy song. But the Soul of Abomination, I mean, I haven't seen the lyrics to it yet, so I can't really talk about the lyrics. But as far as the music, I want to say that one was like more, that was one that was written early on when the writing process started.
Right on. I always wonder about sequencing. It's still important to me. I listen to whole records, so I love finding out like when this was this written first, last. Some records are written sequentially, and you hear from bands. It's like, oh, the first song we wrote was the first song, and the second one is the second. So it's cool to get a little insight into how you guys work.
Whatever sounds good together. We don't really have a first song written was the first song on a record. That could be one of the worst songs you ever wrote. You don't want to put that first.
Right on. The next track is the title track. They're Angels Hung from the Arches of Heaven. Very ominous sounding.
It's a very ominous song. That song was kind of an experiment on my part when I was writing the music. It just kind of, how can I say it? It just kind of happened in a way, because that one actually was written really quickly, which is very, very strange. It just kind of, everything just kind of fell into place, which is very weird when I'm writing, because I'm usually my own worst critic. So I always have to listen to the song like 15 to 20 million times and change this and change that. And that was one that actually kind of, everything just kind of fell into place. And I didn't really second guess it a whole lot, because I'd let a couple of friends hear it while I was actually very close to completing the song. And they were like, don't fuck with this. Leave it the way it is. Don't go crazy with it. It's fine. And that was one of the ones where I was like, you know what? I think it's going to be okay.
Right on. If you think it's going to be okay, it probably is. There you go.
It's probably not, actually.
Aw. Anyway, one of my favorite tracks on the record is the next track, Death from Above. What a banger.
Yeah, Death from Above, that's like a kind of a punk death, black metal kind of culmination of a lot of things. What can I say about there's a riff in there that if someone could point out what influenced this riff, and it's I'll give you a hint, it's a Ramones riff. So if someone could point out where the Ramones riff is and what song it's influenced by, I'll give you a kiss on the cheek.
Well, that sounds like a challenge to me. I'm a massive Ramones fan. You can't see it from this angle, but I have a huge Ramones flag over my bed here. So in the home office here. So yeah, that's a challenge. I'm gonna take you up on that if I figure it out. Um, Amazing. And probably why it's my favorite, because I identify with that. I like that aggression. Ruinous Liturgy is the next track, another banger title.
Yeah, that one I feel is more kind of, it's like classic Goatwhore. You know what I'm saying? You hear it and you'll be like, yeah, that's one of those songs that you hear. It's like, yes, that's Goatwhore all day right there. You know, that one we didn't really stray from the path too far. You know, we just kind of did what we do, and you know, it's just, you know, your tried and true Goatwhore song, basically.
Right on. The next track is Victory is the Lightning of Destruction.
Yes, I believe that one was the one of the first songs, if not the first song that I'd written for the record. Man, that one is just, you know, it's just a old school kind of just pummeling song. It's just, you know, it's definitely you know, the lyrics I think are really cool on it because it's very, you know, just angry, violence, all that fun stuff, you know.
Noted. It is a rager. All these songs are pretty tight, except the last track that's a little more, like I said, expansive. These are all pretty fast. Most of them are under 4 minutes. Most of them are under 4 minutes. A few are closer to 5, but you know, it's a very tight record, man.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, very tight all the way through. Voracious Blood Fixation is next. I love saying these titles.
That one, that was one of the later ones that we were working on the record. That one is, you know, kind of a more of a mid-paced old school vibe kind of thing. I was listening to a lot of Entombed Clandestine when I was writing that song, so you could kind of, in the music, it kind of has that kind of vibe to it, you know, that old school kind of death metal thing going on. You know, that's just kind of mid-tempo kind of stomper thing.
That's a killer one too. The Devil's Warlords is next as we get through the meat of the record.
That is a very fast song. That one is one of the ones that when we were recording gave me the most problems trying to track it. You know, sometimes you bite off a little bit more than you can chew sometimes. And you know, that one definitely was a challenging song to play because I don't know what I was thinking. I was just writing that song and I just was kind of just going for it, you know, and not really thinking of the repercussions of how hard would it be to play this riff right after this riff and right after that riff, you know. And you know, it was just, it was a hard ass song to track. Let's just put it that way. But you know, it's just a pure, just fucking sledgehammer of a fucking song, you know. It's just a straightforward, no fucking bullshit, fucking beat your ass fucking song, you know.
I will also shout out, man, this is some of Zach's best drumming with the band. Some of this stuff is so next level. I think he's gonna drop jaws. People are gonna freak out when they hear the drums on this.
I agree with you 100%. He went above and beyond anything I could have expected, you know.
And there's a lot of killer drummers out there, especially in the genre. But you know, like that's a guy. I look at him; he's always tried to get better. I always see him trying to, like, every time I see him, he's better than the last. And this record's going to be like, you know, a big. Hopefully, he gets the, you know, he should be getting the respect he deserves. I'm sure he is from a lot of people. But like, yeah, this is going to be an ear opener and an eye opener to a lot of people.
Oh yeah. He fucking smashed it on this record, no doubt.
I love it. As we get to toward the end of the record, Weight of the Soulless Heart is next.
That is a weird song. You know, that is definitely out of our comfort zone, I guess you can say, with that one. What can I say about that one? I was listening to a lot of Voivod when we were writing that song, and I think it's kind of apparent because it has that really weird kind of spacey, celestial, if you will, kind of vibe to it, but in a very negative way. It's a really dark song, but it was almost like an experiment, kind of, but it ended up just coming out really better than I expected it to come out. That one was a really interesting one to write.
Right on. The next track is the much more brief track, Nihil, the penultimate track.
Yep, there we go. Another classic Goatwhore sounding song. That one we didn't really venture far from the path on that one. That one is just pissed from start to finish. That's one of those ones where I guess I was in a really, really bad mood that day when I started writing that song. Just all the way through, just old school fucking blackened thrashing death. It's just that one is just, there's no how can I say it? There's not a whole lot of other shit to say about it besides just it's just a vicious song. That's just all there is to it. That's the only way I can explain it.
Vicious, that is the right adjective. And then for the final track, the award for the most Opeth in 1998 song title Goatwhore has ever had. And I Was Delivered from the Wound of Perdition.
That song was written when I was in a very dark spot. There were a lot of very uncertain things happening in my life. There was a lot of very bad things happening in my life. And that song just kind of came from that, and it's not really much more to explain to it than that. It's a very moody song. And that one was another kind of an experiment as well. I wrote that song not really having Goatwhore in mind. I just wrote it because I'll just write random shit. You never know what might happen. And that was one of the ones that I was not really sure what I was going to do with it. If I was going to use it for Goatwhore, if I was going to possibly use it for a different project, or, and then as the song kind of progressed and grew as I was writing it, I was like, this is turning out really, really good. And I presented it to the rest of the guys and they were like, this is amazing. No, we're taking this fucking song. And I was like, all right, fair enough. Let's do it.
Right on. It is epic in every sense of the word, not just because it's a little longer track than the rest of the record. I have always imagined that you might do a solo project someday or a collaboration. There's so many good musicians around where you live. So if you've got anything else, maybe there's something coming in the future. We'd love to hear about it someday.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I always have ideas in my mind of starting something with, but the process of making it happen is easier said than done sometimes.
Indeed. Just any final thoughts you want to share with us? This record's coming out next month, and again, we're super pumped.
Not really. Just thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with me for a little while.
Bro, it's always a pleasure. I really appreciate you. The band has been super supportive of us for many years, and right back at you, whatever we can do. Super pumped for this. Angels Hung from the Arches of Heaven. I finally got it without looking at it. Coming out on the great Metal Blade Records, celebrating 40 years this year, by the way. And once again, Sammy, man, always a pleasure and great to see you. I will see you in person next time, and we'll do it up with some brews.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you, man, for your time.